Hi, this is Penny's Place, and this is going to be an astrological weather update. Just a little more added information that I haven't given you yet that I've just learned. Okay, as you know, we just had a tornado watch, those of you in Florida and the southern states, and I was able to follow along with the speed of the tornado, which was lined up exactly with Mercury increasing the degrees in Cancer, which is U.S., and home base. So in other words, when they said it was going 3 miles an hour, Mercury was 3 degrees in Cancer. When they said it was going 11 miles an hour, Mercury was 11 degrees in Cancer. And then 17, and then 22, and then 27, and on and on. So this is where I felt now I have enough information about Mercury representing tornadoes, okay? This is the one thing I could, and now remember what I've given you so far is information on hurricanes only. Hurricanes, because that is Uranus. Uranus moves really slow. It's easy to train it off and see what the track is going to be. Mercury moves very fast. It moves full cycle every 27 days to 28 days. So Mercury is a hard one to catch. However, it does represent communications, wind, velocity. Now, amazingly, this didn't take place in Gemini because Gemini is also wind and cars. So I'm surprised that nothing happened until Mercury hit Cancer. So I guess it's because it's training Uranus in Aries. Uranus is as the H, okay? The H symbol, and that with a line in a circle, hurricane, okay? It's, let's see. It's got to be pretty closely training Uranus. And then if you go 4 more houses, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the 8th house of life and death, endings and beginnings, okay? That's telling me that it is going to present a life and death circumstances. Doesn't necessarily mean somebody's going to die, but you're going to be confronted with a wind velocity from Mercury is conjunct Gemini in Cancer, which is people's home base and in the United States, okay? Trains the 8th house. Now, because the 8th house, as far as states go, has to do with, California and San Francisco, okay? And Saturn sitting in Scorpio right now is structures. And as I've already said in another video, structures sitting in Scorpio is life and death. The structures, earthquakes, the earth, okay? So, but then look at this. And then and 4 houses later, it trines the 12th house, that's Florida. And, okay, so you say, well, what does hurricanes have to do with California's earthquakes? Evidently, now pay attention to this, Florida. It does not mean that we're going to have earthquakes. It doesn't mean that you can't. I mean, there are northern parts of Florida where you can certainly have some kind of an earthquake up around Tallahassee. But let's admit it. We do have to admit that we have had sinkholes in Florida, okay? Now, we got to put 2 and 2 together and realize what might be causing the sinkholes, okay? I want to say right now, I feel because of Saturn and Scorpio, okay, and I really feel like the earthquakes are causing these sinkholes. So even though, we don't get the tremors so bad that our house falls apart or we feel we're in danger, we are, because we are losing ground underneath the surface, and Florida doesn't have a whole lot in the way of thickness. Now you notice there are other states that are going through sinkholes because these tremors, I feel, coming from the earthquakes out in the San Andreas Fault and California, San Diego, in that way, are causing tremors to come across through underground in other states, yes, and Florida, and creating these sinkholes. That, in and of itself, is very dangerous, okay? One, you can't see them. Two, they go very deep, okay? So, yes, we are being affected by the earthquakes that are happening out west, okay? Now, let's get back to the tornadoes. Oh, okay, and before I finish, once you leave the 8th house, that trines the 12th house. Listen to this. Institutions, hospitals, schools, and isolated places. This is where people are feeling the tremors. I think I might have mentioned something about this a little bit on another video. Okay, so let me tell you this. I wouldn't want to say that it's very safe anymore to trust schools, institutions, some of the hospitals and government buildings anymore as a safety factor for hurricanes or anything else, because evidently where these tremors are going, these are some of the places. Some of them are isolated and nobody lives there. Other places there is people there. So I wouldn't personally, because of the chart, not because of my personal opinion, but because of the chart, I would think twice about using schools and government buildings and certain hospitals for shelter, emergency shelters, okay? Unless, they were made of brick. But remember that when we're talking about sinkholes, it makes no difference what the building is made of, okay? So really think about this, okay? Now I'm going to get back to tornadoes. Florida, southern states, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, pay attention, okay? Tornadoes, separate from hurricanes, okay? Remember I told you southern states, you wouldn't get hit with a hurricane except a brush of it, but you were still going to get high winds, flooding, heavy rains. When I say high winds, I mean high winds. June, July, and part of August. To the extent it could become a tornado because of the air pockets, okay? So, Mars will be hitting, Mars is in Gemini. See, there's another thing. Mars is action. Mars is an activator. It pushes. It activates whatever's in that house. Right now, it's in Gemini. Well, remember, I told you Gemini is cars and wind. So was I surprised to see the weather people got into a car accident? Not at all, okay? Chasing a tornado of all things, okay? So Mars is activating the hurricane affecting moving vehicles, okay? So if you have any more of these winds, high winds, and tornado warnings, and you will between now and mid-August, okay? Up until about the 14th of July, people in cars got to be careful. These are what's going to flip, okay? And Gemini is communications. Telephone lines, okay? It's going to snap those things. When Mars gets to Cancer, July 14th to the middle of August 14th, it will then activate, and Gemini will still, Mercury will still be in Cancer until the 22nd. So, and worse, Mercury is going into retrograde. So, reruns, repeat, figure it out, okay? What you just went through is going to repeat itself. So pay attention, all right? Don't think your car can handle these wind gusts, okay? It's going to surprise you. That's what Uranus, which is training, is all about. Sudden surprises. You're going to be surprised to see your car flip. Say, it should have handled that. Well, the pockets are strange, okay? Now, when Mars gets into Cancer, okay, now you're talking about families, houses, water, okay? If you live near water, it's going to activate Mercury, all right, directly. I have yet to see how that's going to play out exactly because, but I have to say, we're talking about homes, we're talking about family, we're talking about water. I'm trying to think what else is Cancer to do with. Basically, family, home base, your home, your residence, or where you used to live. If you live around water. You personally, I have to say, are in danger. Things to do with communication, so the television set, make sure that's off. Still, don't get in your car. Don't try to outrun it, okay? This is what I would tell you starting from mid-July to mid-August. I don't know. We need to see. But whenever you see the very first incident coming into the second week of July, expect that right on through to mid-August, okay? Because Mercury is retrograde, we're going to have a rerun of the type of impact we just had, okay? So again, winds, don't try to outrun it with a car. The force is going to, in telephone poles and, things like that. So this is why I wanted to give you this update, because I have just learned, and I did not warn you about tornadoes. I only told you about hurricanes in my last video because that's all I knew how to do. I'm just now learning Mercury and how it associates with wind and tornadoes. I knew we were going to get hit with high winds and water. I wasn't too worried. Never thought about tornadoes. Didn't learn that. I'm learning it now. And when I learn some more, I will update you again. In the meantime, and also, I know this should be a separate video, but when you are preparing for a tornado, obviously you're going to have less time to get out than you would for a hurricane, because hurricanes can be seen coming, and you can be warned long before it comes, whereas a tornado can move quickly. It can turn quick left and right turns that even the weather people are not prepared for. So make sure that you have a very short exit. Have your plan down, but just a couple of bags. Just get out, because when you're talking about a tornado, either you can't come back at all or you can come back. But it's number one, it's your life. So don't pack a bunch of stuff. Make it real small package. one you can throw over your shoulder, maybe two, and you can get out quickly, okay? When you're talking about a tornado, you don't have very much time at all. Not like you do a hurricane. So please, just say goodbye to your stuff and get yourself out of there, or go into an underground, shelter if you have a cellar. If you don't have a cellar, then I would say you go into your bathroom or go into your closet. Make sure you have pillows covering your head and your sides for impact, and hope for the best. It's really hard to say leave the house, go somewhere, unless you want to take a guess when they announce it that it's coming your way. If you want to try to take a guess and you're 48 hours or 24 hours ahead of it, well then go where you think you can be safer. Otherwise, stay where you are. If it gets real close, don't run out there. Don't try to drive somewhere. You could drive right into it or near it. Okay, that being said, best of luck to you all. This is mainly for you Southerners and anyone else that just got impacted by this tornado. We're in tornado season. I'm doing my best to learn how to track this on my astrology chart. Give me some time. It's going to take time, but I'm learning. I'm going to be very proficient at it by the end of this season. But I can tell you right away that Mercury and Gemini buddied up in this time season is definitely what's causing the problem. And it can even blend in with a hurricane because it's treening it. And then the 8th house, God forbid. But the good news is it also treens the 12th house, which is isolation, schools, churches, things where people aren't there all the time. So you got a good chance of avoiding death and tragedy. Just use common sense and don't try to outrun it or outthink a tornado. Okay, take care. God bless. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.